Am I sandbagging? When I tell people about the sheer number of tournaments I've done and how I became #1 blue belt in IBJJF in my division in the world, which is Master 1 by the way, it's not that big of a deal. The response is overwhelmingly positive, but every once in a while I get a comment like this. I don't think I need to defend myself, and yeah, the people who are saying those things don't really know me, but it does bring up a very interesting discussion about belt promotions and competitors versus hobbyists in Jiu Jitsu. I mean, it's a fair point when thinking about competitions, right? It's not fair to other competitors if somebody who's been competing forever and winning everything is just the gatekeeper of the #1 spot. Somebody who's doing so well, I'm #1 in my division, and has been blue belt for so long, well, we'll get back to that in a second, and who has done that many tournaments, 60 to be specific, and 226 matches, probably should be competing in a different division, right? Well, I don't know. See, I've been blue belt for 2 years actually, which happens to be the minimum time requirement that I would need anyway to be purple belt and compete in IBJJF, and this in theory helps keep the divisions from being watered down. But that's not really the biggest thing. Just because I compete a lot doesn't actually mean that I'm that good, and I'm nowhere near being the best blue belt. And it's a totally separate debate as to whether you actually have to be the best blue belt in order to be a purple belt anyway. And actually, I still lose to other blue belts all the time in competition. I've only recently won a handful of bigger competitions, and they weren't even that big of wins. And plus, come on guys, we're talking about the blue belt division here. That's the beginner division according to this guy on Reddit. Anyway, the IBJJF ranking system incentivizes you to compete more often in order to get a higher ranking. It's a business. They're trying to make money off of your entry fee. So someone who pays to do 100 tournaments has a better shot at being #1 than somebody who only does a few. It's purely a numbers game, although you still need to at least be getting to the podium in order to get points. And hopefully also by competing so much, you're also getting better at jiu-jitsu anyway, so there's a compound effect. There is a chance of getting Grand Slam points at major competitions like Pans or Worlds and immediately being #1 after just a few competitions, but that's way more rare. And as an aside, there is a rule that if you win Adult Worlds at a certain level, you can indeed and actually must compete in the next belt division before the minimum time requirement. But you literally have to win the biggest IBJJF World Championship at your belt level in order to be eligible for that. And that's hard. And also it seems kind of weird that as you start to do well, which by the way, it took me months of competing to even start consistently doing well, and that's still up for debate anyway, that you can suddenly start being charged with sandbagging. But maybe it's a compliment? I don't know. I mean, isn't the point of competition to try to be the best? If every time somebody started doing really well and you said they couldn't compete in that division anymore, then there would be no #1, and nobody would try to be #1. There would actually be no division at all because there always has to be a #1 for a division to exist. It's basic economics, I think. If there's no incentive to do well, nobody will try to do well. Or maybe that's capitalism? Anyway, what you're really doing is telling people that they have no opportunity to try to win anything big. Because as soon as they get good enough to start having a shot at doing that, it should be taken away from them because they're sandbagging. And that seems unfair. Or do you just have to be a prodigy to not fall into that category? And just win everything real quick in the first 6 months or so at blue belt in order to avoid the charge of sandbagging? And how do we define purple belts anyway? Or brown belts or black belts or red belts or coral belts? Is a purple belt somebody who you could throw into Adult Worlds and they should be able to beat every blue belt? Does it matter if they're a competitor or a hobbyist? What about the old hobbyist black belt? How would they do in the adult blue belt division in Worlds? And should we even mention blue belt Nikki Rod at 80cc? There's such a wide variety of standards for belts and a wide variety of skills between competitors and hobbyists that this belt conversation just tends to run around in circles, leaving everybody, or at least me, more confused than when the conversation even started. And it makes me think that none of this really even matters that much, except in maybe a few categories. Like, for example, getting to keep getting tougher opponents at tournaments by moving up in rank, and then conversely, like not having watered down divisions by simply allowing anybody to compete in any division. Anyway, belt promotions are a touchy subject. Like, who am I to even be talking about my own belt promotion? Come on, look at the ego on this guy. Especially when it's not something I control, nor should it be. But for me at least, since I compete so much, I just want to keep challenging myself, keep getting better and better, and maybe when there's a time that I go undefeated and win every single tournament that there is to win, including Adult Worlds, Master Worlds, Pans, gi and no gi, Euros, gi and no gi, Brasileiros, gi and no gi, and every single Open, then maybe I'll be qualified to think more highly of my skill level, and I could truly be charged with sandbagging if I didn't get promoted after having done all of that. Even though technically if I stayed blue belt in that case, I wouldn't actually be able to compete at the blue belt level again because according to IBJJF, I would have to compete at purple belt. But until then, I'm just here to keep getting better and the rest will follow, hopefully. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more videos like this. See you in the next one.